Welcome everyone to our discussion on China's unique approach to sovereignty. Today we're diving into some fascinating observations about life in China, its booming economic growth, and its bold claims to being the most sovereign country on earth.
I'm excited about this. So, what's striking to you about China's approach, especially regarding sovereignty?
Well, one major angle is how the narrative blends um, everyday life with a geopolitical message. The content takes us from why some people move to China, like personal experiences, to the intricate layers of economic growth, technological advancements, and what many consider censorship.
Yeah,
It's like they're showcasing a lifestyle that's deeply aligned with national pride and state driven policies.
right. And what really grabs my attention is the idea of technological sovereignty. It's almost as if China is insisting on building its own ecosystem independent of external influences, isn't it?
Exactly. It is like they're not just following the traditional Western model, they're really carving out their unique technological space, from social media to digital tariffs and tech wars. It's an interesting mix of innovation and control.
I'm curious though. Do you think that effort toward technological sovereignty might come at the cost of, say, openness or global collaboration?
That's a good point. The content, as it discusses censorship and digital tariffs, raises the idea that this sovereignty is often defended by tight control measures. It's like China's saying, we protect our information space and economic interests. But some might argue that this comes at the expense of free flow of ideas.
Yeah.
And that tension is really telling of the current global climate.
It almost reminds me of a double edged sword scenario. On one side, they bolster their self reliance, but on the other, they risk isolating themselves, right?
Yes, exactly. And the content really emphasizes that by showing chapters on everything from unprecedented economic development to the debate on deindustrialization. It's like they're re engineering their economy to prioritize state interests over global market norms.
That's fascinating. And what about the chapter on dangers of a new Cold War? It feels like China is preparing for a very different kind of global confrontation.
Yes. That section lays out the idea that China is not just focused on economic prosperity, but also on defending its sovereignty against what it sees as imperialist influences. There's this recurring theme of resisting foreign interference, sort of a robust counter narrative to Western criticism.
Right.
It's almost like a cultural and economic fortress mentality.
But here's a question. Can such a fortress like stance truly sustain open innovation and domestic growth, or will it eventually limit itself in an increasingly interconnected world?
That's a very intriguing question. The narrative hints at this by discussing the balance between censorship and technological advancement. It's like, on one hand, the control helps maintain order and a specific national identity, but on the other, it might hinder the free exchange of ideas, which often fuels innovation. It's a complex balancing act.
And then there's the intriguing part about economic models. I noticed there's a segment on export versus consumption based models. How do you see that playing into China's overall strategy?
Oh, that's key. The content implies that China's model isn't just about massive exports. It's rethinking economic structure, shifting towards more sustainable demand based growth in some areas. It challenges the idea of comparative advantage as a one size fits all solution. It's like they're critiquing global economic norms
Yeah.
and offering an alternative perspective.
That definitely seems like a throwback to national pride, a true assertion of sovereignty in economic terms. But isn't there a risk, though, of alienating international partners?
Absolutely, there's a trade off. The emphasis on protecting sovereignty can appear isolationist if taken to an extreme, but the content argues that, in China's case, it's about safeguarding national interests rather than complete
Right.
isolation. The idea is more about a secure domestic ecosystem than seclusion from the world.
That makes sense. And speaking of domestic ecosystems, there's also discussion about China's sovereign social media and technological spaces. How does that play into the broader theme?
Well, it illustrates the concept of controlled innovation. By developing sovereign platforms, China is fostering an environment that promotes technological growth while keeping external influences at bay. It's like they're building a digital playground that only local players get to enjoy. It's very strategic and very unified with their national objectives.
I wonder, though, Could this approach eventually stifle creativity? Without the cross-pollination of ideas from the global market, might they face internal stagnation?
That's a fair challenge. Some critics argue that overregulation might cool off the very innovation it aims to protect. However, the content suggests that China's unprecedented economic development shows a different picture, an environment that combines technological advancement with rigorous state support. It's a calculated
Yeah.
risk that appears to have paid off so far.
It's interesting how they address energy security and food security too. These topics underscore that sovereignty is not just about digital or economic control, but also about ensuring every aspect of national well-being is robust.
Precisely. The way the content weaves in energy security, green transition, and food security really broadens the understanding of sovereignty. It's almost like a holistic vision, safeguarding not only economic and technological space, but also the fundamentals of daily life. It raises the question of what does true sovereignty mean?
And that's a radical shift from traditional definitions, which often focus solely on military or political control. Expanding it to include digital, economic, and even environmental dimensions is quite novel.
Exactly. It's a new multidimensional perspective. The discussions on debt and inequality add another layer, highlighting that internal challenges remain. Even with a strong sovereign stance, there's no escaping the global economic complexities. It reminds us that sovereignty is dynamic and continuously evolving.
Another compelling point is their critique of democracy. There's a segment questioning how democracy fits into their framework of protecting sovereignty. What's your take on that?
Well, it's clear there's a tension there. The narrative provocatively asks if protecting sovereignty is really about isolation versus a form of self-determination. While some might say that a non-Western model lacks democratic inputs, the argument is that China's governance style is tailored to its unique context. It really challenges our standard definitions of democracy and freedom.
And that makes us question, is it really about different values or different designs for stability and growth?
It's a bit of both. It's like comparing architectural styles. One might be minimalist and open, while the other is fortress-like. Both aim for resilience, but the cultural and operational blueprints differ significantly.
I appreciate that analogy. It really captures the core of the debate. Speaking of blueprints, how does the content address the impact of, let's say, US sanctions and the ongoing tech war?
That's a big one. The discussion on US sanctions and tech wars illustrates how external pressures can, ironically, fuel internal innovation. It's like digital tariffs forcing a kind of self-reliance. The narrative paints a picture of a nation that uses external challenges as a rallying cry for technological and industrial self-improvement.
Right.
It's a strategic move, albeit a challenging one.
It sure seems like a high-stakes game where every move is seen as a matter of national pride and survival.
Absolutely. And it's this interplay that makes China's story so intriguing. The content pulls together diverse strands, from everyday life and economic strategies to global positioning and geopolitical defense, in a way that challenges our preconceived notions. It's both inspiring and admittedly a bit daunting.
One last point. Do you think this model of sovereignty, so comprehensive and controlled, could serve as an inspiration for other nations, or is it too niche?
I think it's both a cautionary tale and a template. On one hand, its success in fueling rapid development is admirable. On the other, the risks involved, like potential isolation and stifled innovation, are real. It definitely makes you think about what truly sustainable sovereignty should look like in our interconnected world. And that's the big takeaway. There's no one-size-fits-all model, and the discussion is far from over.